Okay, here we go. This is Subtractor video number 4. We've looked at the oscillator sections, the filter section, the envelopes. Now I'm going to have a look at the LFO. LFO stands for low frequency oscillator. That means an oscillator that's below the human hearing range. And what this does is it affects the sound. It kind of creates a wobble on the sound, either like vibrato or tremolo, depending on which waveform you set it to. I've got a nice kind of pad sound happening here. Just going to raise the attack and release a little bit. Okay. And what I want to do is make it wobble. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some amount of LFO, and it's going, as you can see, to destination oscillator 1 and 2. Okay, that's quite a fast rate. I'm going to reduce the rate a little bit so you can hear it, or I can make it go faster. Okay, if I want to make it sync musically, I can use the sync button, and now it's going to play to a musical division. Okay, so it's pulsing in quarter notes there. And the more I open it up, the more it does it, and the more radical it gets. Okay, if I set a different waveform, I get a different LFO pattern. Okay, you can hear it rising up the slope and then dropping off. Okay, in this one, you'll hear it. Okay, first of all, you get the initial peak, and then it falls down. Okay, this one gives you a much more tremolo effect, the square wave. Okay, because the square wave produces an on-off signal, really. You can use some random ones. If you're after a random sound. Okay. One common thing to do with the LFO is to send it to the filter frequency. Okay, what that effectively does is it's like you're taking the filter and you're going like this. But what it's doing is making that follow the waveform. So in this case, it's a triangle wave. Okay, but it could be sawtooth or ramp or square. So you get a bit more of a kind of transformer type sound. Okay, you also have some other settings on here. Again, they're a little beyond the scope of these tutorials, but for instance, I can send it to FM, which is here. Or phase, which is here. Or again, the mix between the two of them. Okay, but it doesn't stop there. You've also got a second LFO. This LFO is already, it doesn't time sync like the other one. It's kind of free running LFO, and it only has one triangle wave shape. But you can send it to other destinations such as the amp. Okay, so you get sort of volume on and off. You can also send it to this second filter frequency. Sorry. And you can delay it so it doesn't start straight away. Okay, let's turn that off. Turn that on. Okay, so we're back to our. Let's turn that filter off as well. Back to our pad sound. So that's LFO1 and LFO2. You can kind of produce some interesting results with these things. The next section is over here, which is kind of contains a few other parameters. You've got the play parameters really. First of all, you've got things like Portamento. I'll just take it down to a single monophonic sound. Most early synths were monophonic. In other words, they only created one sound at a time. You couldn't play chords on them. And you can simulate this by taking it down to 1 on the polyphony. It's also good if you're using a bass instrument, because bass instruments don't usually create more than one sound at a time. It's standard playing. Okay, so we've got that sound. I'm going to go from retrig, which is our standard thing, which means each time you play a note, it re-triggers this envelope. Okay, if you go to legato, you get a much smoother attack on the notes. Okay, rather than getting a retrig every time you press the note like that, you get a smoother sound, and that's what legato means in Italian. It means smooth. Okay. The other thing is portamento. This is the slide between the notes. Portamento and slide are the same thing. Okay. So if you want to slide between a note, an instrument that has a slide on it, it's a trombone, for instance. If you were trying to replicate a kind of trombone sound, you might want to use portamento to give you a slide. There's also a low bandwidth if you want to use low quality sounds for any reason. You want it to sound more gritty or lower quality, you can switch it to that. It's really a legacy from the earlier days of Reason. You've also got these external controls, external modulation controls. The only one I can show you on here is Aftertouch. This keyboard has Aftertouch, which means once I press the keys, if I press down a little bit harder, then it will trigger Aftertouch. Now, Aftertouch can be sent to any of these areas here. So we'll do it to the LFO because it's probably the most obvious one. Once I press the keys down, if I press them harder, you can hear it start to wobble, give you that LFO sound. Okay, so softly, doesn't do a lot, but as soon as I press it harder, or I could open up the filter with it. Okay, by pressing harder. So that's standard. Push harder, you get Aftertouch. Okay, or the amp, or FM, or more FM. Okay, so that's quite useful. It gives you another kind of thing that the note will do after you've played it. Okay, this section here, pitch bend is fairly obvious. It's your pitch bend wheel. Okay, and this is how many semitones. At the moment it's going up 7 semitones, which is a fifth in musical intervals. You can go up to 24, which is 2 octaves. Okay, so 2 octave difference. You wanted to go 1 octave, just go 12. Okay, 12 semitones in an octave. Hopefully you know that by now. Okay, the next one is the mod wheel. The mod wheel can do the similar thing to the Aftertouch. You can control either plus or minus what's added when you touch the mod wheel. So I can make it brighter by turning the filter frequencies up when I play the mod wheel. There you go. Okay, so it adds harmonics, takes them away. Now I could make it go the other way, so I could make the filter really bright, but when I put the mod wheel up, it's going to reduce that brightness. Okay, and dull it. So that's why you've got a plus or minus. It's the same on these here, plus or minus. Minus means that it will counteract it, whereas plus means it'll add it to it. Okay, you can also do the LFO here. Let's do that. Okay, so that's the end of that video. One final thing we'll look at in the next video, and that's the velocity section. Okay, see you in the next one.